All right, we are recording.
Awesome. Happy June 18th, everybody. We are halfway through the month. On the latter half with a lot of exciting things going on. Most of us are probably just on the call with Adam Westwick, like the fastest, him and his buddy are the fastest growing teams, and they're actually the same team in Australia. So to hear it was really refreshing, Kristen. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Is I feel like so many times we think like, oh, we've got to like come up with the secret ingredient or whatever, and it's like they did the Freedom Revolution.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. There is, and actually, I was on the call with my business partner today, and she was like, "There's no secret ingredient." She's like, "It's host events, do Freedom Revolutions, and bring on tons of frontline." She's like, "Whether you're a 100 Club NMD or brand new rep," she's like, "That's like the secret." And I was like, "Yeah, totally."
Yeah, which, as you said, ain't no secret.
Yeah.
It's this consistency we're putting into things, and which segues back to what I was starting to say. So last week, when we logged back on, we had the week prior, we had said we are going to be leading with the business because that's what the Australians have been really good at, and using these Freedom Revolution calls to expose upon that. And then this last week, we said to go out and to start up and strike up conversations with strangers and to see how that leads. Like, how do we build relationships with someone that we don't know? And how can we get to know them? So I'd love to hear from some of you guys, whether it was, either or really, and how that went.
I can share, Kristen.
Okay, awesome.
So you're just asking like how approaching people or talking to people face to face rather than internet connections, right?
Say that again.
You're just asking us to share like how it went talking more face to face rather than like and stuff, right? Just
yeah.
Okay. So a lot of times for me, when it comes to like talking to people face to face, like I lead, it just depends. Like, but a lot of times I feel like I've been leading with the business or the mission, like ever since I came to the Australian culture, something like strong in my mind, and to move, from the product from there. So say like I really like somebody or I'm in their vibe or whatever it is, their personality. Really just depends on the situation. I say a couple things like learn this from you, but one of the things is just to make like a compliment to them and make some sort of connection. Like I would love to go hiking sometime, something like that, and like exchange numbers. Or if you feel like you've like made contact with them a couple times or feel really ballsy, maybe spicy, just the first time being like, I know this is super random, but I really love your energy, and I just feel like we may really connect, and I would love to hang out with you more, or something like that. Or if it's an event we have coming up, like the ones that we've been having, I'll like invite you to, the nonstand nutrition or salad in a jar, and just say something that compliments them. Like, I think that you would really align with it. I have no idea, but so just like leave totally open to them to make the decision and being okay with like whatever comes out of that, being okay with the outcome, which I've known about many times before.
Well, and for you, Eliza, maybe share a little bit about, so I'll say being Eliza's upline, like that was not something she was comfortable with in the beginning. And being very like, she's got a great following on Instagram, and it's easy to talk to, I shouldn't say it's easy, because that's also, in the beginning, that's kind of like nerve-wracking too. But Eliza, maybe you can share like, I don't know the answer, but like, how do you feel differently being able to connect face to face and strike up conversations with these strangers rather than in the, Insta electronic world?
That's so funny. I think a part of me, it's kind of switched now to be really scared face and say anything. I feel like I put a lot of stuff, like I had to talk about Juice Plus right away, and I was like, that feels really, really scary. Now I understand that it's more just about like making a connection. It doesn't like, and talk about Juice Plus when the time is right, you know, if it feels like it aligns well. But and I would put a lot of pressure on myself. Like, I mean, we all know reaching social media, and like it's not the fastest way to get replies back because people are busy and living their lives, and not everyone is connected into it. And so I would get really anxious around like waiting for people to reply and feeling I don't know, just a little bit like nervous about everything because yeah, waiting for replies, being really obsessed with checking social media like was not good for my well-being. And I still use it as a tool today, but I feel like I'm just smarter about it. Like I, you know, realized that that wasn't healthy for me anyway, and I was attached to the outcome. So once I just started to honestly just believe in myself and know that what out of my mouth, whether it sounds super silly or awkward or weird, is better than staying inside. And yeah, even if it's just saying hi, it just doesn't have to be like, hi, I am Eliza, I sell Juice Plus. Like, I don't ever do that, but unless it feels
Yeah. Well, and even the way, and I just have to say this, watching Eliza evolve over the course of the past year, like, she wouldn't have been able to, I'll just be honest, like she wouldn't have been able to speak to you on Zoom like this. Like, I mean, that it just wouldn't have happened, but she just started putting herself out there, and it was the practice and repetition. And to see, sometimes when I listen to her talk, I'm kind of like, oh, damn girl, like you good, like that. She's so eloquent with how she presents things. And it's because she made sure she had a DMO, and she got herself really uncomfortable a lot of times, and those things are not fun. It can feel so it just can be so uncomfortable, but it's kind of funny how we grow into those things and like recognize like when we need to push ourselves, to test the water and to talk with the stranger, or to bring up the business first. And that's why Kristen and I have really been encouraging you guys to start getting comfortable. And comfortable might not be the right word, but start practicing, right? Like, don't have an outcome, but practicing that to see where it leads. Does anyone else want to share kind of their experience? Thank you so much, Eliza. That was really insightful and cool to see. Yeah, just the evolution of that. We'd love to hear from some other people, to hear on what their experience have been, whether it's specifics or generally speaking. This is like a really great place to start practicing it too.
Yeah, it's a safe place to get rid of that fear, for sure.
Or if you maybe didn't quite delve into those things, maybe share some of those fears and concerns that you have, and we can talk through that. Because that's really good too. Just coming on here and speaking. I have to tell a funny story really quick, because I have a feeling this might be where some of you are. Like, Kristen, you remember when Doug Barlow used to run Monday night calls?
Oh yeah.
So every Monday night, Doug Barlow would bring on a new SC to speak and share their story for that 20 or 30 minutes. And I remember when he called and asked me, and I was like, like, I don't know how to do this. Like, I don't know what I'm going to say. Like, I don't even know what I did. You know, all these stories I was making up in my head. And I would spend, I probably spent an hour and a half that afternoon, like writing it all out. And then, I would just was starting to get asked to speak more and more. And every time I would write everything out. But that was the thing, is like, I needed to start doing that to get myself to talk. And I would read from it or improv from it, but just getting yourself on camera. So I encourage you guys, like, I'm not calling anyone out right now, but like, if your screen's off, like, come on, like, just to be even that much more involved. And Veronica, I know you've been around for a while. Like, how are some of these conversations going for you, and how are ways that you feel like you're kind of pushing yourself and growing yourself?
Yeah, so it's like kind of funny because like when you were like come talk, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to like run out of the bathroom really quick. But I like talking on Zoom and like messaging and like voice messaging and doing all that stuff like doesn't bother me. Like I can do this all day. Like I can put myself in front of a camera and like talk to people, but it's like when I get in front of a person, I like freeze up. And like I don't really know, like I know like you can't say the right thing to the wrong person, the wrong thing to the right person, but like it's like I can have a conversation with them, but segueing it into asking them about the business or segueing them into Juice Plus is like one of those things where I'm just like, okay, great, have an awesome day, bye. And then like that's been my trip up, and it's been a while, and like I said, like I work at Orange Theory, I sell memberships all the time and have conversations with people on the daily about like their fitness goals and their life and all this stuff, and I can do that. But some reason I can't figure out the bridging of like getting people into my business.
Are you getting their contact information?
Well, so I have a lot of their contact information. It's like asking if I can use it is like one of my other things. Like I'll be like, can I add you on Facebook? And then I'll add them on Facebook, and then we'll start a conversation, and then like I won't, like nothing comes out of it because they like either stop answering me or like they don't follow through and watch the video, and like I'm like keep trying to like build a relationship, and I'm good at keeping that conversation going, but then like it's like getting them to like take action. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And so for you, like I'm assuming a lot of them are these or what you're talking about, at least being Orange Theory, these are people that you see semi regularly, or at least they live in your proximity,
right?
Have you like met up with them to grab coffee or go on a run or like go to different events in the community?
Yeah, so that's the one thing I talk to Kristen about this a lot, like because my schedule is so wonky. Whenever I'm trying to like make a date with them, our schedules like typically don't align because I'm usually super busy from like 3 to 9. And that's like obviously when they're out of work or not doing something. So it's just finding that time that we can connect. That's why like I'm like, we can just jump on Zoom and chat, because then it's a face-to-face conversation, and then I can like do that. It's just getting them in person is like been I have to like figure out my scheduling.
And when you do the like Zoom chats with them, are you bringing in Kristen or bringing in a third party?
So I typically try to do my first to like get them the exposure, and then bring in somebody after to take the next step.
Okay. And maybe this would be just something to, oops, I just was trying to close out something on my screen, is like we started having people have the first exposure, like, hey, and whatever you want to call Kristen, like your business partner, or I feel like that's kind of, health food agency sponsor, my other buddy who, however my friend and I who are helping people in this healthy living revolution. I'd love to pull her in, help answer questions, because I feel like the sooner you can do that 3-way chat, like a lot of times it can be really effective that way. So maybe that's something that you'd want to play around with, because then if they can kind of help like see a little bit of that culture and hear not only from you, but from Kristen, and to see that how that community works, I feel like that's a lot of times a thing that like wins people over.
Right. That's true.
Yeah. Kristen, anything else you want to add to some of that?
No, and I think too, also removing the pressure of having it be a Juice Plus conversation is going to be so important for you. And I know that you've been trying to do that too, but removing that pressure to just connect with the person. And I know that it's not as easy for you with your schedule, but getting in front of somebody live is just so valuable. And I think that that's where I am able to have a really quick turnover, because they can't hide behind a computer screen. And they can't hide behind their phone. And when I get together with them in person, I'm like, hey, I'd love to buy you coffee. I'd love to buy you lunch, or like whatever. They're still excited from our initial meetup. And then I get in front of them, and the wall immediately gets broken down. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's where my turnover rate is so fast, because I haven't had to deal with, I know a lot of you guys do, which is people ignoring you, ghosting you, not watching a video, that kind of stuff. And it just makes the process longer. So trying to really like work in those in-person meetings, if it's something you can do, if they're local, I think are really, really important.
Yeah. And kind of like getting them close to one another, right? Making sure that we're not waiting too long. And that's where I know we've talked about it, but Teamsy is so helpful, just helping us remember like when, and I actually, I'm actually doing this call and I'm doing next week and my 2 team calls, these next 2 weeks. But after that, like, other than that, I told my team, I'm like, I'm getting married in 11 days and there's a lot of things I need to get done. So what have I done when I bumped into someone in town or I met someone at a checkout the other day is I handed them my phone. I actually was like, I love your energy. I'd love to connect, but like crazy enough, I'm getting married in 2 weeks and then leaving the country for a month because it's creating curiosity. You gotta leave the country? Feel like you're not working for 6 weeks? What? And in Teamsy, I'm adding their name and then I'm putting a reminder in July because right now I'm like, oh yeah, I can remember these people. I will not remember them come 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. So, you know, making sure that you're planning those things according with your life, but getting them close together is really the what I wanted to touch on there. How about anyone else? So yeah, I think Kristen, you answered that question there for Erica, but like, how are conversations when you're leading with the business or talking with strangers? How has that been impactful or nerve-wracking? Any of these things here?
For me, one thing that's nerve-wracking is once you start talking about it, and just in this last call, this whole skepticism that goes in. And just recently, I just had a friend who was on the last call that.
When you say last call, do you mean
Adam's
call? Okay.
Yeah. And he texts me and he goes, said something along the lines of like, smells like a marketing scheme, and like just kind of that fear. And so how you combat that of how the pyramid scheme idea and how people are afraid of it, and turning that conversation into how it's been a lifestyle for you. So that's one thing like I butted up against in the beginning, was like kind of turned off by. I was like, oh my God, like people are not receiving this well. But once you start sharing your story or they notice your story, I think that's like where you kind of like break the ice with them. But that was like a really hard part for me, was like people were skeptical of this pyramid scheme, and how it's like a joke. So just like, how do you maneuver around that and like kind of get the fear away from that?
Yeah. Kristen, I know I mean, you guys are Amy Meyer's team, so you guys do this really well, but the feel, felt, found thing.
Yeah. Yeah, the feel, felt, found was something that Joy taught us. And Ashlyn and I feel, felt, found in somebody today. That really allows you to empathize with somebody. And empathy is such a huge tool when you're trying to connect with them, to say, oh my gosh, I actually, even if you didn't, to say, I totally know how you feel. I actually felt the same way when I first started the business. I had been pulled into so many network marketing opportunities and all these people trying to get me to sell things, and none of them just felt right. But what I found is that this marketing plan is unlike any other I've ever seen before. It is not your typical pyramid scheme. It's a really incredible community. We get cash bonuses. We get benefits at the top. I think it would blow your mind if you're open to learning about it and how different we are from what other companies, appear to be. I would love to share it with you. And that kind of makes it be like, oh, okay, you felt that way too, and you found something different. Like, maybe I am open to that.
Yeah. Right. And also on that is that you kind of catch them off guard. Like, you're agreeing with them. Mm-hmm. I feel, felt, found. I felt the same way, or I understand how you feel. I felt the same way. And then go into that. And, another thing that Jake Kelly, I just thought was so funny, because I was probably asking her something in the beginning of my journey, and I was like, what do you say when someone's like, is it one of those network marketing things? She's like, yeah, network marketing is amazing. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, what a great way to just like catch people off guard. And we don't have to go into all the details, but to give the few things that Kristen mentioned, like, it is quite different because of the way our compensation plan works, and we can actually get a full benefits package at the top position of the company. And it's like, you guys can say like, I have close friends that have hit that, and to keep it really simple. And, if I share that with you, would you want to take a deeper look? And I think that's where, we say a lot of times, like, in this business, we become professional question askers. Well, if it wasn't for the money. Is there anything else holding you back? If it wasn't because it was network marketing, is there any other reason you wouldn't be interested? If it wasn't like whatever they say, that's the objection, right? Like you asked that specifically. If it wasn't because of the soy, is there any other thing that's holding you back? Like what are the things? Because a lot of times we can stump them. We're not trying to stump them, but we're really trying to educate them, right? And getting them to think clearly around what this is, because we know that what we have is so valuable. So those are, a couple different ways you could approach something like that. And again, I would say the minute you can bring them into a 3-way phone conversation around the feel, felt, found, and using that as your next tool and follow-up would be really, really valuable. Any other questions you have around that, Sasha?
I really like that feel, felt, found, because that's easy to remember, and definitely you can relate and, empathize. So that's a really good way to like just think of that and not let that network marketing it felt like a stab at first, because I'm like, no, this really works. Like it feels like a stab because they put it in a negative connotation. But like you said, if you're just like, yeah, it is network marketing and this is phenomenal, and this is like the way like times are running and how we can make money and take actually have financial freedom. So that's like a really good way to put that. That's easy. And for like people that I'm onboarding, that's a question that they get and they're really scared by it too. So that's something I can pass on to them.
Right. And when we can teach people that off the beginning, I think that that's something that, I actually loved, Adam said it in this last call, right? He's like, when people say that they're skeptical, I say, that's just fine. I would be concerned if you weren't a little skeptical in the beginning, because things have evolved, things have been changing, and I think that was really cool. And just to kind of, another example, I was watching a training by Linda Evenden, I think I said it right, the last week or maybe, anyways, but she was just saying like how many times people tried to hide the fact that it's not, like, yes, we're network marketing. Like that is what we are. And I know myself, I need to get better at that, because I'll be like, we're a virtual franchise. And yes, we are. But when it comes back to it, like network marketing is a component of what we are. So you could say, you could say it in that context too. We've got the 4 components. And oh my gosh, let me see. So, because network marketing is one, right? Direct sales, corporate benefits, packaging. And then Kristen, what's the 4th one? Franchise.
Franchising. Yep.
Yep. So those are our 4 components that make up this business and allows us to be unique. And the corporate portion is because of the benefits package. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? That was great, Sasha. Thank you for sharing that, because you ain't the only one that gets responses like that after a really awesome call. Yeah. Anyone else?
I guess that I have another one, and like Eliza and you can answer this, is when you're transitioning. So for example, and I forget, I think it was Veronica was saying this, when you're trying to create time to be there for the people you've been onboarding or who are new to the product. And like, for example, I just took over GM at the brewery I work at. So right now I'm working a 60-hour week. And so it makes it hard to try to be available. So how you start transitioning into becoming more available for your team. And that's something I'm struggling with. Is like having that time that's not late at night or super early in the morning and actually being able to like connect face to face. Like I'm at work right now, but like how do you make that time?
Yeah, I'll answer that, because a lot of people on my team work full time. And I think that something that I really try and teach them to do is really utilize stolen moments. And for one is to set the groundwork with your team and let them know that there's a few different things. One is that you're not the only person that's there for them. They have this great team, whether it's a box between you and that new rep and your upline. So they always have that extra person, or if you have a bigger team Vox or, you know, bigger team Facebook, that they always know that they can go to somebody else and ask that question if you're not available. But to also let them know that you do work crazy hours, and if you don't get back to them right away, like you will soon, so that they don't think they're being ignored. But to use those stolen moments, like it's amazing how many people you can text and listen to Voxes while you're going to the bathroom. I mean, and this is one of the tactics that I used when my son was younger, because it was the only place that I could be on my phone that he let me was in the bathroom. And it's amazing what you can get done when you're in the bathroom. And so that's a stolen moment. So if you go to the bathroom, you know, every hour and a half or 2 hours, I don't know how often you might pee, but that's an opportunity for you to check your messages and to get back to people. And, you know, and if it's something that's really urgent, to say, hey, Kristen or Eliza or whoever might be in your upline, to say, hey, like, you know, Allie really needs help with this question. Can you guys help her? You know, but then also making sure to plug them into the Juice Plus Academy calls, because that's going to be such a great foundation of their training and really empower them to do things on their own, so they don't feel like they have to lean on you quite as much.
Absolutely. I think the more for all of us, and I'm learning it right now too, is like the more we can rely on each other and have these systems in place, the academy calls, the Freedom Revolution, our team calls, and rep, like people will learn so much, and you don't have to feel like you're the one doing it. I know I did that a lot in the beginning, and it's, you know, you have to think about like, how does Mitra do it? She has to delegate a lot. And when we can learn how to delegate in the beginning while being loving and checking our messages and that sort of thing, I think that's really good. And so we want to respect everyone's time. And what I think we should do, so we're on the 18th, so make sure you know how many orders you need. You're filling out your tracker. How close are you to being a Jackpot business? And then secondly, it sounds like maybe those, I don't want to say assignments, but those things that we said to like try just reaching out to strangers and striking up conversation and grabbing their contact, seeing where the conversation leads, in addition to leading with the business with people when, you know, instead of bringing up the product right away, dropping it down. Instead of dropping into or going to the product right away, to start with the business and knowing that you can always drop down to the product if it's not of interest. So I think we should keep practicing that, because there's still some nervousness around that. That's okay. I'll still have my days when I'm reaching out to the high hanging fruit and my chicken list, and I feel those feelings. But it's a good thing. It means that we care. Kristen, anything else you want to add to that before we sign off?
No, I love that. Just keep practicing, you guys, because that's the only way to break down that fear that you have. In a great way, and you guys, if you're on my team, I've said it a million times, is to do vendor tables. You guys, I love them. It is what taught me how to not be scared to talk to people, because it taught me how to talk about Juice Plus and how to ask questions with total strangers. So don't be afraid to schedule stuff like that and do things like that, because that is going to help you get more comfortable talking about it.
Great. And it's summertime. There's a lot of vendor tables around. So be looking for that. So, well, have a fantastic rest of your week. Oh, and next week we're going to be talking a little bit more about the 90-day game plan that's right around the corner. So that's so exciting, and will be a great place to practice as well. So big hugs, everyone. We'll see you next week, if not sooner.